All right. Well, let's get the meeting going. There is food in the back, and Tony's Liquor did provide. Anytime they try to get a liquor license over at Food Max, he takes care of us. He wants us to take care of him. So that's just the way it works, right? Sheri, building
Yes.
business partners.
Yes, business partners are very invaluable.
Okay. So I'd like to welcome Casey. I guess Megan's not here tonight, right?
No, she is. She ran to the restroom,
Okay. Well,
but she is here.
so Megan Huber's here from
The city.
the city economic development, community relations, right?
Community engagement.
Okay.
It's a mouthful.
And then Casey is pretty much the building department, engineering.
Planning, building, and housing, yeah, community housing.
Okay. But when it comes to resurfacing our streets, that's someone else, and we'll get into that in just a minute. Okay. On our agenda tonight is our budget, and it's stated over there. And just some old business. We did help out Woodside for their Harvest Festival. Their big need this year was actually, they have quite a few families where the parents cannot participate in trunk or treat because they don't have the money to buy the candy. And so instead of us doing a vehicle, I went out and we bought a lot of candy. So it allowed the people, here comes Megan.
There's Megan.
They're all camped out
You
over
get
there.
Brandon. There. Come on over, Megan.
All right. So we did help them in that capacity. And then I did attend the Water District budget hearing, and I just encourage more people to attend. You know, I know the night was on the same night as the city council, so I'm sure there were people at city council that would have made it over to the budget hearing meeting too. So let's see. Our city councilwoman is not here tonight, so a police update from Lieutenant Herman.
And everybody clap at once. I'm just kidding.
Go Wes.
Wes Herman, Lieutenant, Citrus Heights PD. Thanks for having me. I wanted to just give you a couple updates on some things that we've been talking about over the last, I think, probably 2 months now. And then I'll touch base on a couple of those things just with some brief updates. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the crime numbers that have been coming in. And then I wanted to go through some financial scams, things that are impacting our seniors, not just in our community, but every community. And so this is going to be probably a renewed focus for us in 2026, where we can kind of really focus on just tips and ways for you to protect yourself and your finances for yourself, and then obviously for your family. So, but first, before I do any of that, the Wintergreen and Old Auburn corner sounds like that's been a topic of conversation that has come up a few times. People wondering what's going on there. And what I would share is that there is something currently in front of our planning commission for development there. Obviously, I'll defer to them in terms of what the specifics are. It sounds like it's housing related. I don't know how far along that is or not, but that's, I think, the corner of Old Auburn and Wintergreen. As it relates to the properties on Old Auburn where we've had multiple vehicles parked, and I know that that's been an eyesore and something that we've all been kind of trying to live through and look past and try to get them into compliance. Our code enforcement team continues to work on that property. Believe it or not, the gentleman that lives there is actually very creative. So the code doesn't say you can't have X number of vehicles. It says that the vehicles must be parked on an approved surface. And oftentimes his vehicles are parked on an approved surface. So suffice it to say, we are well aware of it. We're paying very close attention. And when they're not on an approved surface, we are continuing to implement our fine structure with the hopes of compliance from that individual. So that's ongoing. What was the last one? Oh, it was the motorcycle riders on the trail. So we have this fabulous new trail, a little over a year old now, where it's kind of fully connecting. And as always, we continue to encourage you to call us when something is happening. So if you have motorcycle riders out there or e-bike riders, which has become a little bit of an issue actually throughout the state, just please call us, get that through our dispatch so we can record that. It not only helps us understand the frequency and the timing of the problem, but it also helps us direct resources. I know sometimes we may get out there and they're gone, but your call was not for nothing. We still have that recorded. What I think may be coming potentially down the road is we're looking at doing an ordinance for trails. So I think you could expect that probably sometime in 2026 from the police department. So I'll pause there before I go into this other stuff. I'll take any questions that anybody might have related to that or anything else that you might be wondering. Yeah.
So you'll have to coordinate that with a number of jurisdictions, since the trail's going through the county and you have different park districts involved as far as.
We probably will write the ordinance for Citrus Heights' portion,
Okay.
and then what they do in those other jurisdictions. I would agree with you, probably for simplicity for the user, it would be good to have some coordination, and I'm sure we'll work with those other entities to ensure that there's some sort of consistent application of that.
One more.
Sure, I will come back to you though, because he was having.
Comes ahead of you, sir.
Sorry.
Is there anybody being trained in the police department or community that can go to these schools and tell these kids the laws and teach them the laws? Because you're buying a bike and the dealer's not telling you nothing because they want to sell it. Is there anybody that can tell these kids if it doesn't have pedals, you can't ride it on the bike trail? If it's a dirt bike that's electric, it can't be ridden on the streets.
Yeah, so
The speed limit, I got a kid that goes by my house all the time. He used to stop, but for some reason he don't like me anymore. But he's got a brand new Speedster bike. It goes like 35 miles an hour.
yeah.
They don't stop at the stop signs or nothing. Is there anybody that can go to these schools?
Yeah, so it's a good question. Obviously, we don't here have SROs dedicated to the schools. We do have our motor units who will oftentimes enforce vehicle-related infractions around our schools, and so they're close by. But as you know, the parks or the trails extend, outside of our school districts as well. Our patrol officers do a fair number of that. So when we see somebody who's in violation of that, we'll stop. The whole purpose is obviously education. It's
Right.
not always, a fine or enforcement. Sometimes it's just like, hey, do you even know you can't do that? I think
Just in the schools. If
Yeah.
you could get somebody.
So our POP team does do some stuff with the schools as well. I think it's a great idea. And I think it's a little bit complex for everybody right now because there's actually 3 categories, right? Of e-bikes.
Right.
There's the type 1, the type 2, and the type 3. And so basically, like you said, the easiest way to kind of dumb it down is if it has pedals and it's an assist, that's one thing because there's limited speeds on those bikes already and things like that. But if somebody's using just a straight throttle and they're not moving their legs at all, that's not going to be in compliance. And then it's a motorized vehicle, they should have a license as well. Gene?
Is it posted on the trail, that, electric, anything with the motor is not legal?
I don't know that. It probably because we'll probably do something like that after the ordinance,
An ordinance.
I would guess. And that way we can kind of say what is and what isn't permitted. So, all right, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, the code says it has to be on a approved surface, it can't be visible, but there's a third, and that's operative. So.
Oh, yeah, if you
So-
can see it.
Does code enforcement go in there to see if those vehicles do operate and they can be moved without being towed in?
So I thought, I misunderstood what you said, operable, yeah.
Operable, I'm sorry.
I thought you were talking about if we can see it from the right of way.
I'm sorry.
So the answer is yes, if we have a lawful reason to go in, because it is private property. So it's kind of outside my expertise a little bit, but code enforcement oftentimes, when there is non-compliance, will go the route of having to obtain a warrant through the court, and if that's what's necessary in order to affect their efforts for compliance, they will do that. So, I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know it was
No,
part
no,
2 of
I'm
your
sorry.
question. Now I feel bad. All right.
Sorry.
Any other questions related to this or others? So one of the other things I wanted to share, I know I oftentimes talk about our cameras and kind of our real-time information center, kind of a brag opportunity. Really proud of the work that is happening with Citrus Heights in conjunction with some of our partners. We had a case yesterday where we were able to help Sacramento County Sheriff solve a robbery. Their information went out. Our real-time information center operator was listening to the call. Obviously, Sac County operates on their own channel, so our real-time operator will listen to different channels in the region. And they were able to go to one of our live pan-tilt zoom cameras at the intersection, and they were able to locate this vehicle. Now, why that's important is, I think it's twofold. We do this all the time for our own crimes, right? Our Arctic operator listens to calls that are coming out, he gets on the cameras and works them, and oftentimes we'll identify a vehicle that maybe the reporting party didn't tell us the license plate number for the vehicle, maybe they weren't sure if it was a 2-door or 4-door or what color it was, but maybe they noticed a sticker in the window. So by having this operator be able to log into these cameras, watch traffic back, and be able to identify the vehicle and a path of travel, oftentimes is what's necessary for a case to get solved. So our Arctic operator did just that on this armed robbery case that happened in Sacramento County, and was able to reach out to the detective in Sacramento County and pass that information along in a very short period of time. And that detective later went on and made an arrest. He came back this morning to get that evidence from us, which is video of this vehicle, and told our operator, he said, we had no idea the plate on that car, we had no leads to go on that car at all. And because of this, what we were able to do was be able to put a suspect behind a wheel, put him in a specific place so that when his alibi is I was never even there, we have that recording. So I think those are happening very often. I share that one because even though it didn't directly impact us, really crime that is happening in the region affects all of us. Crime is not jurisdictionally bound to our 14 square miles or Rosevilles or Folsoms, and so oftentimes these guys will, and gals will do crime regardless of where they live in different cities, and they don't think there's a lot of communication happening back and forth. So we've really made some significant improvement and progress in that way. And so I just wanted to share that. I also want to share that our stolen vehicles year to date are down 50% from the same time last year. So that's a huge milestone. That's 100 something plus vehicles that were not stolen this year that were stolen last year. And so that's big progress. I'm not going to say that's all technology. I mean, we've got some great patrol officers doing great work. The Arctic is doing great work. Our dispatch is doing great work. So I think it goes beyond just one thing. It's a totality of circumstances, but we are seeing some positive impact around some of our crime numbers, both property crime and violent crime. I will tell you, however, though, that theft is still up, shoplifting is still up. Some of that could be that we're encouraging reporting. So maybe we're getting more reporting than we have in the past. We are solving a lot of cases. We are identifying a lot of suspects. We're making more arrests, so that's positive. What happens to them? Obviously, we need the entire criminal justice system to help us with that. But I think there's some good momentum happening, so I just wanted to share that. And then the last thing I'll share, because I know I'm running out of time, is this, and I can send you a copy of this electronically so that you can send this out with your minutes. But financial and fraud crimes, we put together this kind of brochure. These guys are getting very, very sophisticated in what they're doing. I mean, I think we all remember the times where somebody calls up and they want an Apple iTunes gift card for whatever, right? Your nephew's in jail and I need you to get him out of jail, and so send me an iTunes gift card. And you're like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I can tell you I had a very sophisticated fraud attempt on myself. My family and I were going on a cruise. Somehow this person obtained information that we were going on this cruise, and they reached out to me and called me and said, hey, you still owe port taxes on this cruise. And I'm busy, I don't pay that close attention. I was like, I'm pretty sure I prepaid this whole thing. But in the course of just being busy, I'm like, okay, well, how much is it? And he's like, well, if you pay when you go on the ship, it's this amount. But if you pay today, it's this amount. Now, as I sit here and tell all of you, you're probably thinking I'm stupid for even thinking that. But I'm like, I was busy, I was doing 12 other things, and I'm like, well, that sounds like a discount. Sure, I'll do it now, right? And then I realized, wait a minute, when did somebody ever call you and tell you that? So I was like, hey, what was your number again? And then it was done. Okay, so I got lucky. But these guys are getting more sophisticated. And one of the things we're seeing right now, we have a detective that works on this almost exclusively, is we're getting elderly folks who are being sent couriers. So they're being told someone is going to come pick up this money from you. And people are going to the bank and taking cash out. And whatever the excuse is or the reason, you owe back taxes, somebody's in jail, somebody's hurt in a car accident, they need your help, it's your family, whatever. And what they'll do is they'll hire like an Uber driver or Lyft driver who really is not even in on the crime. They're just a courier. They don't even really know what they're going to pick up. And they will show up at the victim's address and attempt to pick up that money. It has happened several times. We had a woman who just gave up about, I think it was $74,000. And so it's alarming. And we just want you guys to be safe. So these are some tips and tricks. I'm not going to go over them all right now. I'll leave this with you if you want to share it at the end. But if it doesn't seem right, or even if it seems kind of funky, just put a pause in it. Like, I think you all know, we'll never call you and tell you we're going to do this, that, or the other if you don't pay. No government entity is going to do that. They often try to pose as somebody official. But the one that almost got me was a commercial business. And it even had a business listing because I looked it up after. So I don't know if they spoofed this business or what. So they're getting more and more sophisticated, and we just really want people to try to protect themselves so they're not out, their hard-earned money. So I think that's it. All right.
Well, the reason tonight that we've invited the city to come and also the chamber to come, there was a flash survey from the city regarding our commercial properties here in the city, and kind of what steps are, the vacancies, the condition of the buildings and so forth. And so we've invited the city and the chamber to come in and just kind of see what your thoughts are and how they can be addressed. I know there's people here in the meeting tonight that have questions that they'd like to hear, see that they can be answered, and just to kind of see what the city can do. I do have a flyer back there where I just went into Copperwood Square, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vacancies, and that didn't even count the bank. So the bank's sitting over there too. And then you go up the street and you got the Rite Aid building and so forth. So there's just a lot of in our area, and we also take in Marketplace on everything east of Sunrise. So just going through there and seeing the vacancies and see what the city has and what they can do. What power, what authority do they have this time? So well, there you are. Okay, so it's Alicia. Alicia, okay. And then who else is coming up? Steffane. Okay. Appreciate you guys coming. And don't be nervous because, the boss lady's here. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, as Bill mentioned, I'm Alicia, and I'm accompanied here by my colleague Stephanie Louie. She's an associate planner with the Department of Community Development, and then I'm an analyst with the Economic Development and Community Engagement Department. We're both excited to be here to share more about the commercial property reoccupancy ordinance that we've been working on. I'm personally super excited to be here. It's my first neighborhood area meeting, so it's nice to see new faces. And we'll share more about the CPR program that we've been working on. Really, it's a continuation of the blight reduction efforts that the city has been on since probably 2022, that started off with the shopping cart ordinance, the beautification crew, so really a lot of work, and the CPR ordinance is kind of next steps. Stephanie's going to walk you through some of the council direction, and then we're going to talk through kind of the timeline for engagement, and then we'll go into the details of the program and talk about the flexibility that's embedded in it. Hand it over.
Hi, so like Alicia mentioned, the city has worked on alleviating blight with programs like our commercial or our shopping cart ordinance and our beautification crew. The CPR ordinance program properties, and council directed staff to bring forward a vacant building ordinance for consideration. This would allow cost recovery and mitigate risk from vacant buildings. So with that direction from council, over the past 6 months, staff has researched the topic. We've reached out to other jurisdictions within California that have an existing vacant building ordinance. And we took that information and tailored a program specifically for the city of Citrus Heights. And in that time, we created version 1 of the CPR ordinance. We released version 1 at the end of July and followed that with a presentation to Sunrise Marketplace. We also held a public workshop for our commercial property stakeholders, our commercial property owners, and then our community stakeholders like S&P and then also the chamber. And during this time, we also released a survey to residents and presented those results to City Council. We also were able to receive feedback for version 1 and incorporated that feedback into version 2 of the ordinance. And just last week, we released version 2 and followed that with ongoing outreach. We had a meeting with S&P last Thursday, and then now we're here at the neighborhood meeting presenting this as well. I'm going to pass it back over to Alicia to kind of dive into the ordinance itself.
So a big part of the program is preventative maintenance through the establishment of shared standards, really focusing on the vacant commercial buildings. And the focus is specifically on the vacant commercial sites because oftentimes these are the sites that are presenting an increased call and demand, whether it's for blight, vandalism, or fire risks. There are extra calls to PD code enforcement. So the program is intended to be a tool in the city's toolbox to kind of address these issues before they become a code case. So we really want to keep our properties leasable and market ready with these shared standards of care, right? If the property has the landscaping, if the windows aren't broken, it's market ready and it makes it easier for a new tenant to come on in there, and it communicates that to the new business and to the broker. So diving into the details, there is a registration component as well as a maintenance component. When the property, what the program is proposing is that when the property becomes vacant, the property owner registers it, they come to the city, they provide a good contact in case of an emergency or in case we need to get a hold of somebody at the site. Oftentimes, it's not the property owner themselves that is taking responsibility for the property. They either hire a property manager or it's somebody in town that's a family member that's in charge of taking care of this property. Either way, if it's vacant, we'd like a good contact so that we can get in communication in case of an emergency. And then there's the maintenance, the monitoring component. So we want to make sure that the property is being upkept, that the weeds are being cut, that it's not a fire hazard, that the landscaping looks good. If there is a broken window or if there is a case of vandalism, that it's addressed before it kind of bleeds into neighboring properties or becomes a reoccurring cycle. So that said, there are also fees associated with both the registration and the monitoring. However, because we want to develop a program that's conducive of good results, and we don't want it to be punitive towards those that are just experiencing a vacancy because of the market conditions, and if they're property owners that are taking care of their site, then there are exemptions for both the monitoring fee and the registration fee, which Steffane will share about.
And so we wanted to highlight the flexibility built into version 2 of this ordinance based on the feedback that we received from the stakeholders. So it was noted during this time that in version 1, our 30-day time frame to register a vacant commercial property may not be feasible to some property owners. So we extended that registration requirement to 60 days. We also wanted to ensure that good actors are not punished, so we adjusted our requirements to allow for those properties that self-register, who are well-maintained, and have no outstanding code violations, the ability to apply for a request for relief, which would waive their monitoring fee for a 12-month period. And then in furthering our efforts to ensure that good actors aren't punished, in version 2, we waived the registration fee for all vacant commercial properties that self-register within that 60-day period.
So the registration component not only kind of allows us to have a good contact, in case of an emergency, but it also allows the city to come alongside as a partner and a resource for those navigating the vacancy. We can provide information on the best contact in the police department, or when they're looking for that tenant, who best in the building department or in the planning department to connect to. It also allows us to, or the economic development department, to share information and resources on our incentives and grants and help support that attraction endeavor that they're on to fill the vacancy. Overall, making sure that the property, again, has those shared standards of care, maintains itself in good condition, and then we can kind of come alongside the partner to fill that vacancy. So next steps and kind of looking ahead.
We do have a public workshop at the Citrus Heights Event Center, December 3rd at 3 p.m. And then just a way to kind of stay informed too, we do have a website available through citrusheights.net/CPR. So you can stay updated on all of the news that's coming for this ordinance. You can view our version 2 as well as the handout that's provided in the back and any other information that we have coming up. And you can also sign up for email updates from the city as well.
Yeah, so this is one of the ways that we're trying to address and the blight associated with the commercial vacancies, but it sounds like you guys have some questions, so we'll take questions and do our best.
What kind of input have you gotten from property owners? Are they?
So the input that we got was actually what was highlighted in the changes that were made from version 1 to version 2. So with the outreach that we provided with version 1 with the workshop and as well as the presentation for SMP, we did receive feedback that in our original version, the 30-day registration period wasn't feasible for some property owners. With just the sequencing of what they need to do on their end, on their personal side, with putting this property possibly back on market, trying to find new tenants in that space, 60 days was more feasible for them, so that was a change that we made. They also gave us really good input on, what are some things that we're doing for properties that are well maintained. Since this ordinance really focuses on blight, and trying to reoccupy vacant spaces, we didn't want to punish existing commercial businesses that may be struggling just by outside circumstances like the economy, who are in good repair, who have maintained their buildings, who do have contacts with the city.
And are actively marketing their site.
Yeah, and then that are actively marketing the site. So that's why we kind of built in version 2. We relieved our eligibility requirements for properties to apply for a request for relief. So instead, we used to have a 75% occupancy requirement. We removed that, and basically, if you're in good repair, you have no outstanding code enforcement violations, and you have self-registered, you can apply for that request for relief. And then also we tailored it so that if any vacant commercial property that self-registers, they don't have to pay that registration fee.
How many other cities throughout the county have the same type of ordinance?
Countywide, I don't know that necessarily there were any apples to apple comparisons. I think closer to the area, Santa Rosa had a very similar program, and then not so close to the area, city of Escondido had a similar program. But there is, within the county, there is ordinances around vacant properties. It's just whether we can compare apples to apples, not so much.
Yeah, and when we did speak, we were able to speak with Santa Rosa, and some of the differences that we kind of noticed and that we wanted to change with our ordinance that's specific to Citrus Heights. Santa Rosa's vacant property ordinance is for all vacant properties, so that includes residential, that includes vacant commercial properties, so ones without buildings at all. And so kind of just tailoring it specifically for our city, we wanted to focus on vacant commercial properties that have existing buildings and really focus on the reoccupancy of that.
Yes.
How
long are you proposing that the property needs to be vacant before the landlord notifies you that the tenant has moved out?
That's that 60-day
60 days.
timeframe. Yeah, just to register.
Do you have a ballpark figure of how many spaces are vacant at this time, or has a survey been done other than working on an ordinance?
I do have a count, but if I tried to give you a number off the top of my head, I know I would be guessing, so I can get back to you.
Hi, so the Nextdoor app posted a survey. Should Sacramento prioritize converting vacant commercial buildings into affordable housing, even if it reduces potential business space? And there's a big yes. Most of the people on here said yes, they're okay with that. What kind of, what's gonna come to Citrus Heights in terms of categories, whether it's housing or retail or, entertainment, dog, yeah.
Yeah, so in, I think, March of this year, the City Council approved an economic development work plan that includes categories that kind of tasks our department with focus areas. So we know where our industry clusters are, we know where our strengths are, and we also know where our gaps are. So I think there are 5 target sectors. So that includes the healthcare sector, entertainment, full service restaurants, professional services. Megan, help me out, I'm gonna blank on the remaining 2.
Small business.
Small business, entrepreneurship and startups. Yes, so those are our focus categories, and that's kind of where we're funneling a lot of our attraction efforts.
Okay, so affordable housing for homeless people who work.
Mhm.
It's not that they're out of a job or on drugs. It's economic injustice in my view, sorry. So is housing at all converting commercial? Because there probably is a lot of vacant commercial space that I've seen. So housing, affordable housing isn't a category for commercial property?
As of right now, that's not something for the focus with this particular ordinance. Even though housing is important, we're, like Alicia mentioned, we did come out with the economic development work plan, and that focuses on commercial spaces. And so with the reoccupancy, it's in hopes that they're reoccupying with commercial businesses or retail businesses. Right now, we are looking at replacing that with housing. There are other incentives, or whether that be the state or the county, that are incentivizing other housing programs that could be available for our existing residential zones. So this one right now just focuses on commercial businesses going back into
Okay.
And I think Casey wants to add to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say that our focus is keeping our existing buildings usable and able to reoccupy. We do have provisions in our code to housing where housing is appropriate, and that will kind of follow the market where the market goes, but we want to make sure that the resources we have are protected and well kept, because then if housing does want to go ultimately next to one of these spaces,
Property to be safe and well kept, I get that. Do we realize how much retail is a higher volume online than in person? You know what I mean? So a lot of these vacancies, you're talking a lot about marketing, etc. How big, on a scale of 1 to 10, how big a challenge is that gonna be?
I'm just gonna say, as the chamber executive, business drives our economy.
Right.
We do not wanna carve out our business community for housing, because we will end up underwater.
Well, you don't have to carve out the whole lot of commercial buildings.
True, but it is a very fine line, and we want a very vibrant economy
Sure,
in Citrus
yeah.
Heights. And so to say we should, take this commercial building or then take this commercial building and turn it into housing, that really,
It's so weird because Sunrise Mall, when they finally, I'll be gone by the time it's done, but part of that is going to be affordable housing. So.
correct, and that's a great blend. That's a great plan
to
for
have
what
an
the future
urban-
can
Not
be.
actually correct. Sunrise Tomorrow does not require affordable housing.
Right.
So to
Oh,
be clear, there's nothing in the plan that requires, and there's
Well,
no
there's a
plans.
hotel that could be also marked as housing, I don't know, I don't mean to be difficult.
No.
But, you know.
It's not being difficult.
not sharing
challenging,
information.
and just this stuff goes through my head with.
No,
With
and-
all of the economic injustice that's in the country right now.
Absolutely, and I could sit, we need to get coffee and I could chat with you for probably 3 hours. Let's do it.
Sorry, okay.
No,
So
yeah.
it's mostly to keep them business retail. The commercial spaces
need-
are going to be
yes.
retail, entertainment, movie theater, nobody goes to.
If I can, it's to keep the space activated.
Correct.
If it's vacant, this will help it become activated. So it's not even about designating use, it's about forcing some sort of occupancy so that there
Sure.
can be a baseline of neighborhood
Yeah, the
vibrancy
city
for
depends on that.
everyone,
The city
for
depends-
everyone.
Yeah, that's great. And the city depends on that revenue heavily.
Ready
Right?
for the questions.
So do the residents,
Right.
because of the services that they get
Okay.
being here.
All right, I'll be
We got more
quiet.
questions here. I guess this is for Casey. Would you have to hire more inspectors as we go through all these different, I mean, you look at some of these vacant spaces, they've been there for months and months and months. How do we know if they are up to code and up to, you know, what they should be? So are you gonna have to hire more people in the city to go out and make inspections, make sure that they're up to code?
So it'll be run through our code enforcement division, and they have the ability to, and they are already performing some of those types of inspections. We're gonna continue to increase the availability that they can be available to keep an eye on these things so they don't become problems. But really, the primary focus is preventing them from becoming a problem, and the ordinance requires you to have active burglar alarm. You have that. If you have fire sprinklers that have been working, you know, we've seen numerous conditions throughout the city where buildings have had those, and by the time anyone knows there's a homeless colony in there, the building's destroyed, and then it's almost, you have to knock it down and start over again. So our focus is really preventing those from happening, and then the easier that, the better maintained they are, the easier it is to get leased, and the easier we create that vibrancy that we're all trying to see.
So do I understand you correctly that all these buildings that have been vacant for months and months and sometimes even years, you guys are going in and looking at them every so often to make sure?
The ordinance will have that provision that we will go in there and monitor those once they're enrolled, yes.
Once they're enrolled?
Yeah.
And what if a vacant building never enrolls?
So
That's when we use code enforcement to help ensure that they come in line and make sure that they're enrolled in the program, and we levy fine, if we ultimately have to, we levy fines and fees and things along those lines.
yeah, and so in the ordinance, we kind of built in the incentives for self-registration. We are, you know, working with code enforcement too, or plan to work with code enforcement so that if there are properties that don't self-register and the city has to identify them, then they have to pay the registration fees, and then they pay the monitoring fees. They don't have the opportunity to possibly apply for the request for relief, or they don't get the waived registration since they were identified by the city. So that's why with our ordinance, we try to build in a incentive to self-register.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I heard this or not, but it seems to me that often it's very much easier to take someone as they're falling down and help them than to once they fell down, okay? So is part of this program when a building starts looking decrepit as opposed to before it's empty? I mean, because you can tell sometimes this business is falling apart, or the building is falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah, so this ordinance is primarily focused on preventative maintenance rather than, you know, like the example that you gave after it's already fallen apart. That's usually when code enforcement steps in. So this is a way for the city to identify buildings that are, you know, that have become vacant within that 60-day time frame, and then we can monitor them throughout that period. And hopefully monitor the upkeep and ensure that the property owners are maintaining the building so that they don't fall into, you know, a state of non-repair.
That's a good metaphor though. I really like
Yeah.
that one.
So business owners that are not vacant businesses. They don't have to register until they become vacant.
Correct. Any other questions?
Can I just make a distinction real quick?
Sure.
This is not targeted at business owners. This is property.
Correct.
Property
Thank you.
owners.
I like that clarification.
Because
Very much.
business owners, they beg, borrow, steal to do business, and they're scrappy and they want to serve their community. Property owners, however, a lot of times don't live here. They own property, they have no investment in this community, they don't care. So I'm just making that
It's
distinction.
important, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? I think we have
Is
some.
there, I can't really see,
Yeah, no.
and I didn't, hear what the, excuse me, is there still the inside that have, like fire sprinklers and alarm?
Yes.
I don't understand why that is, because if you know, when you get a tenant, you don't know what wall they're gonna knock down, or, so it just adds additional cost. I certainly agree with the exterior, but maybe do a fence around it, rather than have, because it's expensive.
Yeah, that's good input. I think the wording in there,
I can't hear you.
the wording in there is it encourages and requires that alarm or the sprinklers, but if they're not there, there is an option to just kind of, is it physical monitoring instead of the actual alarm. But the premise and the goal still is to keep eyes on the property.
One last question. So on the news the other night, they were telling us about the city of Rancho Cordova and how they were incentivizing businesses to come to their city. Is the city of Citrus Heights considering anything like that?
Yeah, so I can tell you about our incentive programs, kind of similar to the answer on the Economic Development Work Program. One of the programs that was adopted alongside that program was the Business Attraction Incentive Program. So it allows us to kind of pull together the efforts for full service restaurants, entertainment concepts, and to kind of bridge the gap between what it is they need to kind of get into the city, and it's one of those tools that we get to leverage when a lead warms up and we can kind of bring that deal home. So yes, we do have those options available, and then that's kind of our bigger pot and our bigger pool, but then there are smaller ones for kind of smaller businesses. So there's incentives for those kind of navigating the process of getting architectural designs done. So there are a handful of programs available.
Can you outline what some of the incentives are?
Sure. So the Attraction Incentive Program helps fund, it's like studies that need to be done, so whether it's a traffic study, you know.
I'm happy to tag in.
Okay, I'm gonna tag Megan in.
My job, I run alongside Alicia and Steffane in economic development and making sure that we're super business friendly. And we've created programs that are so flexible to attracting whatever business will fit Citrus Heights. And we've done that with Black Sales Coffee, for instance, if you've been in Sunrise Marketplace. We funded their design support, and actually ask me one thing I'm most proud of.
What are you most proud of?
Thank you. One of the things I'm most proud of is I used one of our programs to fund a traffic study that helped eventually get Green Acres at San Juan and Greenback. That was so long ago. No, it was necessary, but still proud of it. Thanks. But that's the point, is we've designed these programs that meet businesses where they are, right? Green Acres said, oh, Citrus Heights, not a thing. And we said, no, it is, and we'll show you why. All of the programs in our toolbox do that right now.
Do that right now. And also, we know where the market is. I'm gonna be really candid. If we left Citrus Heights to the market right now, the general market, the macro market, the Sac region market, it's all about auto-intensive uses and quick service drive-thrus. It's what it is. It's what society is doing. It's our post-COVID practice, right? Along with everything else that you've indicated, post-COVID things, right? So we're in the midst of figuring out how to respond to the market, and we know we have programs that do that. We've done it enough to know, and we've built in enough flexibility to know. While also recognizing we have to protect Citrus Heights because it is 98% built out. We have zero real estate, which means whatever comes in has to be quality and respect the gravity of the real estate that it's taking up, which is what the conversation is rooted in right now. In so much as if you were a property owner that has vacant real estate, that's sitting on it, that's not taking care of it, that is maybe making the choice to dilapidate it, right? Like if you're making the choice not to invest in it, even when it's vacant. Citrus Heights still has standards. It still has standards. So that's what this is about, is figuring out how we have that conversation with property owners.
What if they go bankrupt, the property owner, and they have a loan, they don't outright own the property, they have like a mortgage or whatever? What's that?
That is a business decision. That's not a community decision.
Okay. So, but if they go bankrupt and the property stays uninvested in for years and it starts to get dilapidated, I mean, I know there's nothing the city can do unless they want to buy it and develop something.
Toolbox to address those things when they come along.
Pardon me?
We have tools in our toolbox to address those things when they come along. Those are going to be kind of the exception, not the rule. I think the bigger challenge that we have is the people are keeping their buildings vacant. They're either writing it off or not really looking for a tenant, and they're letting them fall apart. So the more we can address those and make sure they're upkept and make sure that they're good neighbors, that helps bring in other good neighbors, right? Because no one wants to go locate next to their rundown building. So I think we need this tool to make us able to make sure that we're all good neighbors.
It's contagious, to your point, either way, right?
True.
The minute a property owner makes improvements, then other property owners look around and say, we best keep up. The minute broken window theory, they start not making improvements and their standards slip, everyone else's does too. And as a community that's 98% built out with a plethora of property owners, they're making those decisions all the time, and most importantly, our community sees that on the ground. We see those decisions that they're making every single day as we drive by, as we're making our consumer choices, as we're inviting visitors into Citrus Heights. That's our welcome mat, right? And this is the choice that we're making, is what is our welcome mat? And how do we all have shared standards of care on the condition of the welcome mat? Is it dingy and gross and dirt ridden? Is that our welcome mat? Or is it sharp and power washed and welcoming? Is the choice.
And I'll just say from our lens, it often brings uninvited visitors to our city as well.
Absolutely.
We get tasked with dealing with that.
Don't even get me started on crime prevention through environmental design. I'm certified through Street Smarts, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, we also do have, we got handouts as well
Okay.
in the back, and has the information on it and the website.
All right. And who do you have with you tonight?
This is my husband.
Oh, that's your husband, okay.
Yes, this is Bonnie.
All right. It's good to have you here. Are you hungry?
Yeah, I ate already.
All right, just checking.
Bill wants to feed everybody.
No, Tony wanted to feed everybody. Okay, so now we're going to kind of go with a little bit different here. We're going to have Sheri Merrick come in. She's president of the Citrus Heights Chamber of Commerce and she's going to promote, tell us how she promotes business, right, in Citrus Heights.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say I feel like you're gonna have a letdown because I personally am proud of our city and I'm proud of our community to stand up and say we want Citrus Heights' perception in our region to read that we are a place that you need to come and support and feel comfortable. Come and spend your money here and come and live here. You know, I like to say that as a chamber executive, I am the voice for business, but I'm not necessarily a voice for property owners. I want to view this ordinance through the lens of how could this help or hinder our business community. And all in all, I feel all that it can do is be a positive for our business community, because I was in the first workshop. The first workshop of the ordinance I attended, and I did have some questions because I was like, you know, this might kind of be something that could harm our business community. But the fact that our city is so dedicated to our business community that they took all that feedback from the workshop and went back to the drawing board and came back and said, okay, we heard your feedback. We're going to do version 0.2. Like, what cities do that? Not every city does that. A lot of cities will say, no, this is what we want, this is what we're gonna do, and this is how it is. The fact that our city values their business community as much as Citrus Heights does, that they took the time to do a workshop, get the feedback, go back to the drawing board, and come with version 2.0 is amazing to me. And I'm so proud to be a part of this community. And, you know, I was with Folsom for several years, and the fact that I am now with Citrus Heights, every year I go to the WACE, which is the Western Association of Chamber Execs, and there's a lot of chambers that fight with their cities. They do not get along at all whatsoever. It is a very contentious, awful relationship. And the fact that I have been blessed enough to come into Citrus Heights and deal with our city manager, our city leadership, our city council, they truly love this community. They love their citizens. They want to listen to their citizens. They want to get input. And the fact that I feel like they've made history in saying, no, we're not gonna let someone come in and kind of bully us and say, oh, we'll buy more acreage of the Sunrise Mall if you'll do XYZ. And the fact that our city council said, no, we're gonna stand firm. We want the Sunrise Tomorrow plan. That's huge. And I'm so blessed. And I know that our city our city's heart is in the right place. And if we will let them do and accomplish what they want to do and accomplish, it will be better for our business community, it will be better for our citizens, and it will be better for our community as a whole. So that's all I'm gonna say, because I love Citrus Heights and I love being a part of this community.
So we have these major property owners, you know,
Yep.
we've got Conrad, which you kind of referred to, and Rome and these different groups. Have you noticed a pattern on, say, vacancies compared to who the owner is?
I wouldn't be able to answer to that, but I would think Meghan would be able to.
I can speak to that.
Yeah.
So when you speak about Conrad Properties as an example, yes, that company is associated with the mall, but it's also associated with many other properties. And they do an objectively great job filling vacancies and executing on property upkeep, which is why this is not about the mall, right? The mall is a talisman for what vacancy can look like in a super regional center across the United States. And this is not about the mall, this is about the rest of Citrus Heights commercial corridors, right? Which means it's not about the names that we can say, it's about the names that we can't. It's about the absentee properties.
Yep.
It's about the folks that aren't involved. It's about the folks that don't have any fingerprints whatsoever in Citrus Heights and maybe can't even point to it on a map.
They bought a property who knows how long ago, and like to Megan's point, it's a tax write-off.
Oh, I was just wondering if there, you know, you have certain property owners, major players, that you see like Conrad.
Sure.
Yeah, I notice there's other properties and they aren't maintained.
They're very good.
And then I look at some other property owners where you're thinking, okay, you know, they're on the edge. And so you have to kind of focus a little bit more on those.
And that's what this has the potential to do. If the package turns out right, if we get consensus, and if it's brought before City Council for consideration, and we all decide that it's a thing. What would be great, since it's on CHASEN's agenda, if you feel like this is something that would be beneficial to community, if you feel like it's something that would uplift your neighborhood and advance revitalizing Citrus Heights, we would love your voice of support as we're advancing the potential of this program. So with all the sharing, it's fair that I ask in reciprocity, if you think that it's something that your neighborhood would support, that your community members would support, I would love to come away from this meeting knowing that we have your support to advance this. Whatever that could look like, maybe even in a letter of support, Bill, do you think?
Once you leave, will I have everybody raise their hand or not? No.
I'm willing to leave the room. There's no pressure. There's no pressure. I'll leave the room.
You know, Megan, I still have a question with the interior.
Say again.
I
The
still
interior.
have a question with the interior.
Okay.
And the expense that the city is looking for the
Yeah,
property
yeah.
owner to spend,
Mhm.
plus the annual fees that they would have to spend also. That really bothers me. And I don't think it's an incentive to bring businesses in, because the owner is just going to pass that along to the business.
Jamie, can you do me a favor and put a finer point on that question? Are we worried about the administration of the program? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it's the cost. Like, I look and our sprinklers are anywhere from $550 to $1150 a square foot. And that doesn't count installation.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of cost that you're asking, plus the annual fee.
Yes.
So, and maybe I have to clarify that the ordinance isn't requiring installation of fire sprinklers if they're not fire sprinklers. They're just saying if you have fire sprinklers, make sure they work. We have had some buildings that have been broken into and have had fires started in them without working fire sprinklers. Obviously, that's a huge community risk and a detriment to that building in the future. We're also asking for businesses or the property owners to have a burglar alarm. We have numerous examples, elephant bar, we have rig calendars. People got into those buildings before anyone knew it. They're virtually destroyed. They're beyond repair, and that's exactly what we're trying to prevent. If we don't know when people are getting in there, if property owners aren't keeping an eye on them to the extent that they should be, we cannot prevent that. We don't get a call, code enforcement doesn't get a call until there's a fire or something worse out there. So that's the tool we need to do, is to prevent maintenance.
Well, I think it's an exception, actually. Like there would be a fire, or, yeah, I just think that's exception, and you're penalizing the whole community.
I hear you, and maybe I can offer some additional information in so much as we're not requiring things without also fighting for our business community. So one of the things that is inside of our economic development work plan that we've gathered so much market intelligence on, exactly what you're speaking to, is when you have existing real estate, aging real estate, guys, most of Citrus Heights was built in 70s, 80s, and if we're lucky, further than that, right? But we are dealing with aging real estate, yes? And it's even harder when it's vacant, which is why we built into our economic development work plan that was approved in February to advocate for regulation fixing in and around safety and security. So we worked with Sacramento Metro Fire to reform fire and code standards. They were restrictive when we looked under the hood. And we've spent the last, year and change going line by line in how is it, what is the secret to, how can we lower barrier to entry in these codes, exactly what you're saying. Folks can't enter into a vacant property and then get all of these requirements and an exhaustive bill, right? Because it doesn't make business sense.
Yeah, with disclosure. I mean, I had a commercial building for 25 years, and I had all kinds of tenants come and go. And they want to tear down this wall, they want to do this.
Don't even get me started on tenant improvements. Whew, it's exhaustive, right?
Yes, yes.
When you go through the permitting process, the baseline requirements, and when you add in the safety and security, I can only imagine.
I don't think the business would pay for that. I think the owner would need to pay for that.
Which is why I bring this up. So we're not just doing this. We're not just doing a consideration of reoccupancy ordinance. We're also doing so many other things. We've worked with Sacramento Metro Fire to do a plethora of fire code amendments to lessen the requirements that you're talking about. And we've also looked inside of our own building code to lessen those requirements as well. So we're not just looking outside, we have looked inside to make sure the ground is the most fertile possible. If a business is looking, we're going to catch them. And we also need property owners willing to catch them.
That's just finding big.
It's a thing, it's a thing. Kathy.
I'm not a business owner, I'm a residential property owner. I live here, I shop here, and I appreciate, in the 25 years that I've lived here, I appreciate the effort that the city goes to listen to the residents.
Yes.
And I really appreciate the ongoing communications. And I know if I have a bitch, somebody will listen to me. They may not agree.
You are my direct line, Kathy. Who's are you bitching to? It's not just me.
I appreciate the chamber's work and the city's work. I really do.
once again, I'll say it again, I feel very blessed to be in a city where city government listens to their citizens and they take it to heart. They truly take it to heart. Like that's so refreshing.
Even if they play tricks on you.
There's
no
amazing.
tricks. We have 0 tricks.
No tricks. Absolutely not. You know I'm not government.
Well, and if I can, I call her. If I can't do the fun, I call her for the fun. But if I can put an even finer point on that, Kathy, you're saying exactly the right thing in so much as the city of Citrus Heights has the most aggressive strategic planning I've seen anywhere in any region in the state of California. I'm a student of local government, and Citrus Heights continues to blow me away. The way city council continues to push, right? It's council that sets these goals in the first place. It's council that says, we're not going to rest on our laurels. We're not just at good enough. How can we grow? Which is why we're even here talking about this in the first place, right? This is a question of how can we grow? The reason that this strategic objective happened is because we've made so much advancement in the beautification of public areas. You guys have seen that, right? How, is it more beautiful in public areas?
Is Citrus Heights not more beautiful than it was, say, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
The city won awards for it.
But it's not even about that. To Kathy's point, we're continuously soliciting feedback through flash vote and other ways. If y'all ain't signed up for flash vote, please do right now, because that's a tool that we use to measure all of this. Flash vote showed through community sentiment data that the community's sentiment turned from unfavorable to favorable regarding blight abatement and beautification. So the feeling that you have about the lay of the land of your community, the community's feeling turned from unfavorable to favorable in just 3 years through the strategic planning that city council did. They set goals, they pushed, and they achieved it. So this is just another exploratory goal of how can we continue to do that thing. Gosh dang, we beautified public spaces according to community sentiment in just 3 years, which as a staff member, I feel like I can say, that's really tricky to do, guys. Okay? To turn a barge, to fight the good fight against external environmental factors, to consider all of the blight that's coming at you as a community. Imagine turning that barge in 3 years where your community feels like
we see it.
You hit a mark.
Yeah.
Right?
Questions?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, what are you doing to incentivize what you brought? Businesses, without doing the research and finding out that the median income is lower than the surrounding areas, so they want to set up their business in a higher medium income area. What are you doing to attract them away from that and bring them here instead?
Let me Uno reverse card that. What would you say to that proposition? How would you answer that for Citrus Heights?
The reason why I ask the question is I don't know. Because if I was a business owner and I knew that people have more expendable money in another area, I would put my shop there.
Sure.
Because we are, but I know you guys are doing a good job at trying to fix the problem. Is that people businesses do their, people that want to do a business do the homework and
Absolutely.
us determine what they set up.
Agree with you. And, you know, if we were to put that in a business plan, it would say easiest path to entry, right? Where's the easiest path to entry? Where will it pencil the most profitable?
My brain goes to, I grew up in a very small town, and Main was a huge thing. Like the business that got to post up on Main, it did the best business because everybody had to drive by. And the fact that we are truly the nucleus of Sac County, we've got 50 to 80, we've got Folsom to Sacramento. Like, we are literally in the middle. If you bring your business to Citrus Heights, imagine all that drive-by traffic that could come and be a part of your business.
So they'd all have a mixed income demographic. Because it would,
It
basically
be.
says to me all walks of life are passing through the nucleus
Correct.
of Sac County.
Correct.
So I would love to see an Italy. Come on. You guys know what Italy is?
No, what is Italy?
Oh, it's real cute.
It's
Really?
what?
It's super cute.
Oh,
It's
I need to
so
see
cute.
that.
Well,
It's a food hall.
cute to me says small. Italy, well, I went to the one in New York. It was 2 blocks, 7 restaurants. And all the different floors had bread or pasta or cheese or whatever. But
Yeah.
I would love to see an Italy like around Sunrisers. But the other distinction I wanted to thank you for is that you brought to light that these property owners, not business owners,
Correct.
these property owners live all over the country. In China, I don't know.
Could.
A lot of time, I've heard that China buys a lot of property in the States. I don't know where. But the fact that the city of Citrus Heights is focusing on what the citizens' common good entails
Yep.
is huge.
It
And
is.
I thank you, a universe full of thanks for that.
It's. Any other
Bill,
questions,
you're up.
Bill? You're up. We're done.
That's a good note to close on.
And I want to say the same thing. I mean, I reached out and I talked to Marissa and she's like, well, we haven't even gotten there yet. And I said, well, you put a flash vote out. And so if we can help by asking you questions and trying to see what you have to offer at this time, that's why I said that's our purpose. And that's what we want to do, you know, as a neighborhood group. So I thank you for coming. You know, most cities, this is not an opportunity that they have a privilege to attend.
No, we're always on the ground, Bill, because that's where we do our best work. If we're off the ground in any regard, then we're not doing our job. And also, I just want to share a quick stat in so much as we did issue a flash vote on this subject specifically, and it showed that 79% of Citrus Heights residents would support a potential ordinance.
Yeah, I took that survey.
Okay.
I should have led with that then.
So, I'm a retired commercial plumber, and I've done, I can't even tell you how many tenant improvements, where you're going in, and as you're talking about, you're taking an existing structure and you're changing the total use of that structure.
Yeah.
So, let's say they decide that they don't want to pull permits. Now, if the city knows that that's a vacancy and now it's being rented, they will have to pull permits. And those permits are there for a reason. They're there for public safety and use related on the code enforcements for those buildings. We put in our shop, and it was a plumbing shop, right? They came in, this is good old Elk Grove, drove me nuts, but they were wanting seismic just on our shelving and all this additional stuff. And then they said, well, you have too many people in the building, you don't have enough bathrooms. And I mean, they went on and on and on. So it can get a little extensive, but I agree. I like the idea that you're coming in and you're seeing what's there, and then you're seeing what happens afterwards. So you know the usage, if it applies, and it's approved in that particular instance. Okay, I'm going to get off that. Thank you very much for coming and being willing to answer questions. We have no meeting in December. We have our Giving Tree project that we're going to be working on, and I do have a flyer up there in the back. You can take a look. So 3 things we're looking for. The school finally got back with me, and so she just said, how many kids do you want this year? And I said, well, give me whatever you have. So it could be 15, it could be 25 or 30, we're not sure yet. But if you want to help out with the project, there's a couple things you can do. You can either give us a check, or you can call once we get the list of the items these kids want and need, and you can maybe just take an item and say, hey, we'll provide that for you. And the other thing we do is on the 15th of December, we're going to have a wrapping party, so you can come over. Sorry, Claudia, our house, and wrap it up. So we have a good time, and then we have food there to go.
What time?
The wrapping party usually will start around 6. So we'll send that information out. So I'll be meeting with the school on December 2nd, and we'll get more information. And then also there's some senior citizens. I mean, I'm senior, but anyway. There's some people that need help at this time, especially this time of year, and we'll be helping them with gift cards. So those are some of the things we're going to be doing. And a real quick one.
Yeah. Just a quick note, I think everybody knows on December 4th is the Christmas tree lighting at City Hall. It's really a lot of fun. Even if you don't have kids, you could go, it's fun. But we need some volunteers. We've got some people volunteering. If you're willing to help distribute necklaces and or work in the kids show, let me know. I'll put you down. We've got some people from CHASEN. We've got other people from other neighborhoods. It's fun work. Thank you.
Okay, and then the last thing.
And there's flyers in the back.
There's flyers, and then the last thing before our drawing, January, we're going to have a pizza party, okay? So it's the beginning of the year. Let's just come in. We may show some slides of what we've done in the past, and anyway, it'll just be a good time. And so, no pressure. Let's see who won their, do you have the prize back there? Dave can't hear. I told you can't hear. Well, you want me to read it? Did you forget your glasses? Okay, the last 3 numbers, 288. That was a funny one. Thank you for coming.